news from the BBC with Anna Ford and Andrew Harvey.
Good evening. The headlines at 6 o'clock. There have been 2 explosions in the centre of Manchester. More than 60 people have been injured and thousands evacuated from offices and shops. Anti-terrorist officers said it was the work of the IRA, and they deliberately made warnings confusing. The Post Office has announced it's making 16,000 people redundant over the next 5 years. British Coal has come up with a plan that could save 13 pits and 8,000 miners' jobs. And fisticuffs in the Russian parliament as tempers get out of hand. The IRA is being blamed for the bomb attacks in Manchester, where more than 60 people were injured, mainly by flying glass. None was seriously hurt. Both explosions took place in Manchester's busiest shopping and business district. The first was just before 9 o'clock near Deansgate. Office blocks were severely damaged and about 10 people were hurt. The second, larger explosion came just after 10 o'clock, close to the Arndale shopping centre. It happened as police were trying to evacuate the area and caused most of the casualties. During the day, police bomb disposal experts carried out 10 controlled explosions on suspicious packages, although none of them turned out to have contained explosives. At a news conference this afternoon, those in charge of the investigation condemned the terrorists for making deliberately confusing warnings.
The first bomb exploded without warning shortly before 9 o'clock this morning. It had been left near the Manchester tax office and the blast shattered windows in surrounding buildings. By fluke, there was no loss of life, but at least 10 people were hit by flying glass. At the time, hundreds of office staff were arriving for work and shops were opening for business. Within minutes, a caller with an Irish accent rang the BBC to warn that 3 more bombs were primed to go off in streets which he named.
Move from this area now, please.
It was smoky, just like a building site, and then the building where the windows had gone out, there was just all the curtains were blowing. It was horrible.
It was extremely loud and everybody round about just came to a standstill. A couple of seconds later there was smoke billowing from the building over there. It was a massive cloud of grey smoke but no fire.
Greater Manchester Police started to clear the streets as a search began for other bombs. One of the targets was near Manchester's Cathedral, where many of the shocked and injured were initially taken. An hour and 20 minutes after the first blast, the second bomb exploded, near the Cathedral, but not in the street named in the warning. Again, the main injuries were caused by flying glass, and in all, more than 60 people were treated at hospital.
I'm surprised there were more casualties, because, at the patch I was, I looked back after, just covered in glass where I was, and I must have got unlucky, I don't know.
There was much relief that lives had been spared, but in scenes all too familiar in Belfast, the major impact was on the normal flow of city life. The police mounted a massive evacuation effort, clearing literally thousands of people out of the city centre. Many businesses virtually closed down for the day. In one instance, staff being cleared from a store were caught by the second blast as they spilled onto the street. This afternoon, detectives from the anti-terrorist branch arrived from Scotland Yard to join the search for the bombers. The inevitable suspect for today's attacks was the IRA, and there was contempt for the delayed bomb warning.
I think it is absolutely deplorable, but a fairly regular terrorist tactic to place bombs and then give warnings that do not allow us time to respond properly. And in fact, on this occasion, the first explosion went off some 7 minutes before the first warning call was received.
It's the continuance of a campaign. Clearly, there is not much doubt in anyone's mind that this is the IRA. My message is that, as has happened in London, there is a tremendous groundswell of goodwill and support for the police service here, and anyone who's right-minded realises that this is an attempt to intimidate the people going about their business, thinking of Christmas shopping. For many, many years now, the tactic has been used, and it clearly is not going to succeed.
After the bombing near the cathedral, there was particular outrage from the church.
I think it's a cruel and cynical attack on uninvolved civilians. Even if they call themselves an army, this would be against all the rules of war.
Late into the afternoon, and although Manchester police have begun to ease their restrictions, on the city streets it's extraordinarily quiet. Given that one of the principal aims of the terrorist is to inflict maximum economic damage on commercial interests, in Manchester today, they've clearly hit their target.
The IRA's latest attack has drawn strong criticism from the head of the Metropolitan Police. Sir Peter Imbert said their 20-year campaign on the mainland had achieved nothing but misery. He appealed for people to be vigilant throughout the country as the bombing spread outside London.
London has largely borne the brunt of IRA terrorism in England. Faced with the current shortage of hard information to preempt attacks, the police adopt the obvious but sensible tactic of routine security checks, particularly in areas like Westminster, which the IRA have gone for several times. Alertness and years of experience of terrorism do occasionally pay off. When 2 officers stopped a lorry in North London 2 weeks ago, they found a ton of explosives on board. Earlier this week, the police located another huge van bomb before it went off and defused it through controlled explosions. It was the 3rd time in a fortnight the IRA failed in a bombing of the capital, and it surprised no one at Scotland Yard they chose to attack another city offering a softer target, nor that they failed to give a warning. The anti-terrorist branch scoff when they do get so-called warnings. They're usually too vague to be of any help in getting people out of harm's way. The Manchester bombs have now been added to the lengthening catalogue of crimes being investigated by the branch. There is every expectation of more as Christmas approaches. The Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Sir Peter Imbert, who retires in a few weeks' time, has spent a significant part of his career fighting the IRA. He spoke today of his feelings of revulsion that after 2 decades, a new generation of terrorists was still fighting the same murderous campaign. It was impossible to get through to them, he said, that all the bombings, the deaths and the injuries had achieved and could achieve nothing. But such condemnation has had as little effect in London as in the IRA's home base. City centre bombing is commonplace. 27 people were hurt in Belfast 2 days ago. Staff at the premises got a telephone warning just 3 minutes before the bomb exploded.
Left 64 people injured and caused millions of pounds worth of damage.